So Brittney Griner is still not free, and that is entirely unacceptable. We know that there have been mass calls for her release. She is still in Russia right now. We got to do something about that. And because some in the mainstream may have forgotten about her, we want you to know here at TYT, we have not forgotten about the plight of Brittney Griner. Brittney is an American basketball star. Many of you probably know that. And she is facing 9 years in prison in Russia because she was caught with a small amount of cannabis oil. She was playing in Russia because basketball players, women basketball players, let me say that, women basketball players do not make enough money, and they especially are nowhere close to what their male counterparts make. So female basketball players like Brittney, they go abroad to play. And that is why, the major reason why she was in Russia. So let's put up this headline, shall we? Brittney Griner's release, not a priority for Russia, the Kremlin officials says. Well, she should be a priority for us. So it's been 9 months since she's been there. And if Russia does not want to make her freedom a priority, we need to do that right here in the good old USA. And Brittney is in dire straits. There have been many reports, both from her wife and also from her attorney, about the situation that she is in. Cenk, this is a gut-wrenching story right here, and I am certainly committed on Unbossed, and I know TYT is too, to not letting this leave folks the front of their minds, because so much is happening. Sometimes we forget, but we cannot forget about Brittney.
Right. So now this is a complicated issue, unfortunately, because it's hard for the US to do more. We have to, number one, explain who's the primary culprit, which is Vladimir Putin. They're basically holding her hostage. I mean, a little bit of what, marijuana, like oil for massages? What are we talking about here? This is total nonsense. This is garbage. Okay, they just kidnapped her. So first of all, you should be aware if you're going to go to Russia, they might kidnap you. They have a tyrant in charge. So honestly, all tourism to Russia should stop immediately. Who would be insane enough to risk getting kidnapped? I mean, this is a trumped up charge. It's a massage oil or something. Who cares? Who cares? They don't actually care. Putin doesn't care. Russia doesn't care. They're obviously lying. And I thought one of the things they were trying to do was to do a trade, Nina, because, and we did offer that trade. And that's what puts us in a really difficult spot. We were gonna trade Griner and Paul Whelan, a former Marine, who's in jail in Russia for 16 years. They're accusing him of espionage. Who knows if anything the Russian government says is true, right? And we were gonna exchange them for Victor Bout. And his nickname is the Merchant of Death.
Yes.
And Russia said no, which I was stunned by, because I thought for sure Putin would want the Merchant of Death back on his side. So that puts us in an incredibly difficult position. What do we do when the other side is being absolutely obstinate?
Yeah, this is incredibly sad, and especially for her family. Her wife has been interviewed on TV several times, her attorney. So I want to draw our viewers' attention to some of what her attorney is saying that she's going through right now. So Ms. Griner is allotted outside once a day. She's only allowed to go outside once a day, during which she walks for an hour in a small courtyard at a penal colony outside of Moscow, where she was detained after being in court. They convicted her on that, as Cenk laid out. It is really oil, but not really. It is. It's just cannabis oil. She has not been in good conditions, as I could sometimes find her, and that is Ms. Griner's attorney letting us know what type of state Brittney is in right now. She spends the rest of her time in a small cell, so she's only outside for a very small amount of time, her attorney says. She's in that cell with 2 cellmates, sitting and sleeping on a specially elongated bed to accommodate her 6'9" frame. And so there is a hearing about the appeal, and it's scheduled for October 24th. And we will have our eyes all on this. October 24th is not that far away, but if you are Brittney Griner, it cannot get here soon enough. And we do not know exactly what will happen once that hearing takes place. Her attorney also stated that she is not yet absolutely convinced, and this breaks my heart, that America will be able to take her home. She is very worried about the price, what the price of that will be, and she is afraid that she will have to serve the whole sentence here in Russia. Oh my God, I really hope that that is not the case. And Cenk, based on what you just said earlier, this is shaping up to be a very tenuous and difficult situation for Brittney.
Yeah, honestly, there's a lot of tyrannical governments that I never would ever consider going to their country, and unfortunately, it breaks all of our hearts. But Russia is now one of those countries, and so look, even if you believe that they were doing this straight out, which you'd have to be nuts to think that, you're gonna go to a country. She wasn't selling, she wasn't distributing, she wasn't doing anything. She had a tiny amount of cannabis oil, right? So you're gonna go to a country that'll put you in prison for 9 years in a prison labor camp for having cannabis massage oil? Who would go to that country? So now it comes back to us. So what can we do here in America? Because we can't control Putin. Well, we're out of our top option. I mean, we don't have 2 merchants of death. We only had 1 that we had captured. He's a weapons dealer, and he's a horrible, horrific weapons dealer that Putin loves. And so you kind of maxed out on what you could trade for here. We literally don't have a second one of these odious characters that Putin treasures, right? So long term, I know this is not the answer for Brittney. We should end our war on drugs, because our war on drugs is the maniacal, stupid thing that's spread all across the world, because Nixon wanted to fight liberals and black people, and his own administration admitted that later. So this is one of the horrible results that continue to cascade throughout the world of our war on drugs. And then finally, look, I know that we're going after Russia in 1,000 ways, but one of the things that if I was in the Biden administration, I would do is really try to pulverize their tourism industry. And just as a way of getting leverage so that they'll let her go, and tell the whole world, maybe even run ads across the world. If you go to Russia, they'll kidnap you and put you in a labor camp. Don't even think about it. And if you do enough damage monetarily, then you might finally get their attention.
That's exactly it. Money definitely talks for sure. And we also know, Cenk, that former New Mexico Governor Bill Richardson has been doing his part as a private negotiator to try to help bring Brittney home. So let's hope that he and others who are working on this, and Paul as well, absolutely, are successful. But I love your ideas. I know the White House is watching right now, Cenk. They're taking copious notes about those recommendations you just gave them.
Well, no problem. I got a lot more where that came from, but they might not like the economic and political ones I've got coming up later in the show.